Hey, what's up, guys? Today, I wanted to go through some of the UFC matchups that aren't announced yet, but I think could potentially happen in 2025, and I want to predict who would win those matchups. And at the end of the video, I will cover 3 or 4 matchups that have already been announced, but the first ones are going to be matchups that have not been announced or have not been made, but they potentially can happen in 2025. So let's get right into it, starting off with probably my highest anticipated matchup for 2025. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. This skill for skill might be the best fight you can put on in the UFC ever. I mean, we're talking about two guys who have pretty much barely any weaknesses across the board. Islam can stand with you. He can get on the ground. He can submit you. He can take you down. He can box with you, kickbox. Ilia Topuria has some of the best boxing in the UFC while also containing probably the most underrated grappling in the featherweight division. Now, Islam has went on record to say he's kind of tired of giving the smaller guys a shot. You know, he already gave Volk a shot twice, even though one was on short notice. He wants to go up and get his second belt. But until Belal Muhammad moves up, I just don't see that happening. So I can see Ilia Topuria maybe moving up, beating a Charles Oliveira, and then they could set up that champ versus champ matchup, him versus Makhachev. Now, in terms of who wins the fight, now, I will say that there's a 100% chance that Ilia could knock Makhachev out cold just because he has that equalizer and that power. He's knocked out plenty of guys, but I would go with Islam Makhachev by probably like a 48-47 decision. It'd be a very competitive back and forth match, but I can see Islam winning the fight. And who knows, man, maybe Islam can latch up a late submission because as we've seen in the Jai Herbert fight, Ilia Topuria can be head kicked. That was one of the most flush head kicks I've ever seen someone take and not get KO'd. He took a flush head kick from Jai Herbert at lightweight back in the day. And Ilia has been shown he's susceptible to high kicks. And if Islam can land that high kick and hurt him like Jai Herbert did, I think that Islam could jump on a submission and finish him. But obviously, Topuria has a chance to win, and that chance would be in the boxing, in my opinion, keeping it on the feet where he would have an advantage in boxing range. But in kicking range and kickboxing range, I would favor Islam. So I would pick Islam in this matchup. It's a very close fight. I'd say it's like 60-40 Islam for me, but man, would this fight be excited. I would have goosebumps. Let's get on to the next matchup. Alex Periera versus Magomed Ankalaev. The fact that this is a potential matchup and it's not announced is really triggering, I'm not going to lie. And it has nothing to do with me liking Ankalaev. A lot of people assume, dude, you just love the Dagestanis. Like, I don't care about that. I just want to see the best guys fight the best guys. I don't want to see Alex Periera fight number 9 or number 4 or a Legends versus Legends matchup, him versus Jones or Aspinall. I don't care about none of those fights. I want to see him versus Ankalaev. It is stylistically the hardest fight for him in the entire division. And you know what? I've gone back and forth on this fight, but honestly, I think Alex Periera would win. Magomed Ankalaev has gone on record to say that he's going to stand and try and he's going to knock out Alex Periera on the feet. I think that's a very stupid game to play if you're Ankalaev. He's going to have to mix in the grappling or he's just going to lose this fight. Pereira is way too dangerous of a striker for a guy like Ankalaev, who didn't look all that impressive in his fight with Alexander Rakic. He looked okay, but it was nothing that wowed me like, wow, this guy's going to knock out Pereira. He looked a little gun-shy against Alexander Rakic, even though Rakic was kind of stalling the fight. But Ankalaev has good boxing skills and he has good power on the feet. But I do think we overrate his wrestling/grappling. I don't think he has a single submission in the entire UFC, maybe not even in his career. And the only time we've really seen him take the fight to the ground effectively was against Jan Blachowicz after he got his legs chewed up. And I don't know, man. I don't think that's enough for me to pick him against Alex Periera. I think Alex Periera is going to chew up his legs with leg kicks like Jan Blachowicz did. And Magomed Ankalaev is going to go in for a sloppy takedown. And I can 100% see Alex Periera just catching him with a left hook, dropping him, and TKOing him on the ground. Ankalaev has been dropped before back in the day by Santos. And yeah, man, I think both guys have a good shot to win this fight. I'd say it's a 60-40 once again in favor of Alex Periera. Either of these guys can win this fight. It's not like Alex Periera is so many levels above Ankalaev where there's no chance he can win. He has a shot, but in my opinion, I would have to go with Alex Periera, probably by like a second round TKO after filling out Ankalaev on the feet, maybe chewing up his legs a bit. Ankalaev shoots a sloppy takedown. Alex Periera sprawls, and then they separate, and then Alex Periera hits him with a left hook. He goes down, TKO on the ground. That's how I see it going, second round. Let's get on to the next fight. Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. Now, this might actually be my most anticipated fight over the Topuria Makhachev. It's close. Both of these fights are so insane. You have, in my opinion, the most dangerous heavyweight we've ever seen in terms of finishing ability. He has the shortest fight average UFC time in UFC history with 2 minutes and 2 seconds versus the most skilled fighter we've ever seen, the GOAT, the best of all times, Jon Jones. And yeah, man, it's IQ versus power and speed and skill. It's like who prevails. The thing about Jon Jones, in my opinion, the way Jon Jones beats Tom Aspinall is by taking him down and either submitting him or TKOing him. I don't think Jon Jones is finishing Aspinall on the feet. Tom Aspinall is not old man Stipe, but listen, man, you guys know I'm a Tom Aspinall glazer. I think he's probably the best heavyweight we've ever seen. Call it recency bias, call it glazing, but who else is finishing guys like this? He's shown an ability to finish guys on the feet and on the ground. Finish Sergey Pavlovich, who was on a 6-fight first-round knockout streak in a minute on 2 weeks' notice. Who does that besides Tom Aspinall? Avenged his only fluke loss in the UFC against Curtis Blades. I think in the fight, you would see Tom Aspinall hit Jon Jones with a 1-2 down the pipe, drop him, and finish him on the ground. I think it's that simple. Like, call me a casual. Jon Jones at 37 years old, who nearly took Stipe to the 4th round and didn't look all that impressive, took him nearly to the 4th round, and Stipe landed some shots on Jon Jones in that 2nd round. What happens if Aspinall lands those same shots? A faster, younger, in his prime, powerful Aspinall versus a nearly 38-year-old Jon Jones. Jon Jones is not getting any younger, and his body's deteriorating. Maybe if it was a prime Jon Jones, I'd pick him to take down Aspinall and ground and pound him. But Aspinall, we're talking about a guy who's 255 pounds, jacked, always in shape. And yeah, man, Jon Jones has never faced a guy with the power of Aspinall. What happens whenever Jon Jones faces a guy his size? Dominic Reyes, Alexander Gustafsson, Thiago Santos, guys who are bigger and can match his range to some degree. He struggles. He arguably lost to Dominic Reyes. And he barely can beat a one-legged Thiago Santos. It's like up at heavyweight, you think he's going to beat a guy in Tom Aspinall who, I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I think Tom Aspinall is going to KO Jon Jones. I do. And if that's a casual take, then take it for what it is. But I got Tom Aspinall by 1st round KO. If Jon Jones has a path to victory, it would be taking down Aspinall and probably ground and pound TKOing him. But in terms of favorability, I would favor Tom Aspinall to win 65% of the time and Jon Jones 35% of the time. I just think an older Jon Jones is going to be such a dangerous matchup. It's an uphill battle for him. I got Tom Aspinall by KO in the 1st round. Let's get on to the next matchup. Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan, the rematch. Now, they fought, I think, in 2022, and Sean O'Malley won a very close decision against Petr Yan. A lot of people thought it was a robbery. A lot of people thought Petr Yan booked 2 rounds, and they gave it to O'Malley because he was the bigger star. I'm kind of, like, indifferent about this fight. I don't really side with if Yan or O'Malley won. It was a very close fight, but, man, listen, the UFC has an agenda. If they're going to let anybody win, it's going to be Sean O'Malley, the golden boy. Not to say anything, but in the rematch, who do I think wins? Honestly, I'd pick Petr Yan. Petr Yan in his last 2 fights against Yadong and against Figueiredo, he looked improved. He looked like he gained his confidence back. He seems to be a faster starter these days, using that trip to get guys to the ground. He just put on an absolute masterclass against a guy like Figueiredo, who was on a run at bantamweight. And I just think Petr Yan is going to use his fight IQ more in the Sean O'Malley fight. I think he's going to shoot takedowns earlier after he saw what happened to Sean O'Malley in the Merab fight. I think Petr Yan's going to go for takedowns, just to give Sean O'Malley something else to think about so he's not as dangerous on the feet. He might be a little bit more tentative, and I can see Petr Yan winning a 29-28. Maybe O'Malley takes the 1st round and Yan takes the last 2. Very close fight. Might be a robbery. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to this rematch. I think it would be a banger of a fight. The first fight was a banger. The 3rd round was one of the best rounds I've ever seen. I think the 2nd fight can be a banger. So book this fight summer of 2025 UFC whenever Sean O'Malley comes back from his hip surgery, because I think he had a hip surgery. Let's get on to the next one. We got Diego Lopez versus Volkanovski. Now, let me just say, Diego Lopez is my favorite fighter. So there might be some bias coming into this pick. However, I think he KOs Volkanovski. Let me explain, guys. Volkanovski's 36 years old. He hasn't fought in over a year. It's going on over a year in January, which is good. I think he's good to take some time off. And I don't want to see the Topuria matchup for Volkanovski. I want to see him face Diego Lopez to show that he still got it, to show that he can establish himself as the #1 contender. Because everybody just thinks that Volkanovski's a lamb being led to slaughter, fighting Topuria again after he's already been KO'd, especially after Topuria went on to KO Max Holloway. People are like, well, I mean, Topuria's just going to KO him again. But I just see Diego Lopez hitting Volkanovski with one of those shots kind of like he hit Ortega with and knocking him down and putting him out. Listen, Volk has always been kind of a chinny guy. He got dropped by Mendez back in the day. He got dropped by Holloway twice in their 2nd fight, I believe. Once or twice. And then he's been KO'd by Makhachev now. He's been KO'd by Topuria. Volk, listen, maybe I'm exaggerating when I said he's been chinny, but he has been shown that he can be dropped throughout his career. Skill for skill, I 100% think that Alexander Volkanovski is pretty much better than Diego Lopez everywhere, outside of like offensive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think Volk has the better boxing, better kickboxing, better distance management, better, arguably the better wrestling, but it's like, we're not talking about prime Volk, guys. We're talking about a Volk who's 36 years old, coming off of 2 brutal knockout losses, who hasn't fought in an entire year. And with those circumstances, I am going to pick Diego Lopez by like a second round KO. I think he's going to put Volk out cold. In my opinion, I wish Volk would go up to lightweight and finish his career. I think Volk at lightweight could make for some banger fights, and he might even have a better chin at lightweight. But either way, I pick Diego Lopez by a second round KO. But would I be surprised if Volkanovski could avoid the KO and win a dominant decision? No, not at all. But it's just like, I can't trust Volkanovski to show up prime version at 36 years old, coming off of 2 KO losses. So give me my boy Lopez by a second round KO. Let's get on to the next fight. Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis. This is another potential fight we can see in 2025. I made a video maybe 2-3 months back saying that Khamzat Chimaev would submit Robert Whittaker in the first round. And people call me crazy. And it's exactly what happened. Blame it on the teeth. Blame it on whatever you want. I don't think the teeth were a factor. Khamzat Chimaev was getting that choke even if Robert Whittaker's teeth didn't crash in. I think that's just a cope. Khamzat Chimaev is arguably the most dominant wrestler and grappler we've ever seen in the sport of mixed martial arts. He's one of the most dangerous first-round fighters in the grappling we've ever seen, if not the most dangerous. I mean, if this guy has your back in the first round, watch out. You're in trouble. But him versus Dricus du Plessis, what is my prediction? Listen, I'm picking Khamzat by first-round submission. Until, I don't know, man. If there is anybody that can beat Khamzat, it is Looney Tunes Dricus du Plessis with his plot armor. I think he has the best chance, but we're talking about one of the most dominant grapplers, man. And Dricus du Plessis, didn't Darren Till take down Dricus du Plessis? Listen, I think that Khamzat Chimaev, it's not a matter of if. He will take down du Plessis. Can he finish the submission? Can he get on Dricus's back and finish the submission? We don't know. We don't know how good DDP's submission defense is. We know he's a good grappler. We know he came up as a grappler. He has a lot of submissions on his record. But that's offensively. How good is his defensive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? We haven't really seen that in the UFC because no one's really threatened him with a submission, you know? And I think he's going to face a guy like Khamzat, and Khamzat's going to get that back, and Dricus is going to be in a position he hasn't been in a long time, and he's going to be like, oh, I haven't been here in a long time. What do we do? So I think that Khamzat Chimaev is going to go out there, and he's going to rear naked choke Dricus du Plessis in the first round. With that being said, if this fight gets out of the first round, the chances of Dricus winning this fight skyrocket. Like, I'd love to see the odds if this fight went into the second round for Dricus. I think people are underrating Khamzat's chances if it does go past the first round. They're acting like Khamzat's just going to be completely cooked. I think he's going to be rejuvenated at middleweight. But I will admit that in the later rounds, if it does go to rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, Dricus should be heavily favored to win, as he's going to get better as the fight goes on. But I think that Khamzat's going to go out there, take him down, and submit him in the first round. That's my prediction for this potential matchup in 2025. Let's get on to the next one. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Belal Muhammad. Now, obviously, this fight was originally scheduled for UFC 310 in December. It got canceled. Belal had an infection in his foot. Got canceled. It ended up being Shavkat fighting Ian Gary instead. And in that Ian Gary fight, it was very telling for Shavkat. I think his offensive wrestling got a bit exposed. A lot of people, as myself, said he was going to go out there and destroy Ian Gary, and it just didn't happen like that. He won 3 rounds to 2, but Ian Gary held in there and nearly choked out Shavkat Rakhmonov. But hear me out, guys. I think a lot of people are overrating Belal Muhammad and underrating Shavkat Rakhmonov because of that fight against Ian Gary. Let's not pretend like Belal Muhammad has an ability to finish the fight on the ground. Let's not pretend like Belal Muhammad can KO Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat Rakhmonov has shown to do very well against shorter opponents, and I think that stylistically, Ian Gary is one of the hardest matchups for him. One of the hardest matchups for him in the division. I think that Shavkat makes it look easier against Belal than he did against Ian Gary. People are not talking about Belal Muhammad is 36 years old. He's not the most active guy. And we're talking about a guy in Belal who has 24 fights and 18 decisions, 24 wins and 18 decisions. And we're talking about a guy in Shavkat who has 19 wins and 18 finishes. That Ian Gary fight was the first time he didn't finish a fight. I think people are underrating Shavkat because of the way he performed against Ian Gary. They're like, oh, dude, Belal Muhammad by 49-46 destruction. I just don't see that. I think Shavkat's going to be able to finish Belal Muhammad. Listen, even if Belal Muhammad gets Shavkat Rakhmonov down, okay, and then what? He's going to submit him? He's going to knock him out? Who does Belal finish? He has like one finish in the last 9 years against Sean Brady, who he had to land like a 50-punch combination on. I think that maybe Belal will outstrike Shavkat because of the pressure, but I think Shavkat's going to be dangerous in the striking. He hits way harder than Belal, And I think if it hits the ground, Shavkat has an ability to submit Belal at any point. So I'm going to pick Shavkat Rakhmonov by a third round KO against Belal Muhammad. That's my prediction. And yeah, this is a close fight. I would say it's 60-40 in favor of Shavkat. I would not be crazy surprised if Belal went out there and just put on an absolute wrestling clinic and just expose Shavkat. But I'm not buying that. I'm buying Shavkat's going to get this guy out of there. He's going to become the new welterweight champ, and he's going to gain his aura back in 2025. And yeah, I think this fight probably will be booked around April, May. But let's see, maybe UFC 313 or 314. Let's get on to the next matchup, Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje 3. Now, I think that this is the last fight for Poirier, and let me explain why. There's been a lot of tweets and information about who people have rumored that Justin Gaethje is going to fight Dan Hooker or Dustin Poirier might fight Max Holloway, but I think we're going to see Poirier Gaethje because Dustin Poirier really wants to get that Gaethje fight back. They're 1-1. Poirier finished Gaethje way back in I think 2018 by a TKO, and then in the rematch for the BMF title in 2023, Justin Gaethje head kick KO'd Dustin Poirier I think in the second round. And I don't think Justin Gaethje lands that head kick again. Listen, I hate to do MMA math, but look at their last two performances. Justin Gaethje got absolutely styled on by Max Holloway, and Dustin Poirier looked arguably one of his most impressive performances, taking Makhachev to a 5-round battle. Even though he lost most of the fight, he was in there the whole time defending takedowns, and he cut open Makhachev, and he ended up getting submitted. But I think Dustin Poirier is more close to his prime than Justin Gaethje is, and I don't think Justin Gaethje lands that head kick again. And if that head kick doesn't land, I don't think Justin Gaethje has the craziest punching power we've ever seen. Sure, he KO'd Edson Barboza, but he eye poked him. Sure, he KO'd James Vick, but who hasn't KO'd James Vick? It's like, if Justin Gaethje doesn't head kick KO Poirier, I don't see him getting a one-punch KO on the feet. And I think Poirier is going to finish Gaethje in the third fight. I do. I'm going to favor Dustin Poirier. I think he's going to outbox Justin Gaethje. He's going to be more defensively sound, ready for that head kick. He's going to probably keep a high guard because he's going to be nervous about that head kick again. But I could see Poirier just outboxing Justin Gaethje, frustrating him, and then eventually getting a third-round TKO. Similar to the first fight, except maybe Poirier gets tagged in moments, but he'll be able to take a shot. And Dustin Poirier by a third-round TKO is what I'm going with. Yeah, and Justin Gaethje is also going to be coming off a year layoff if this fight does happen. Poirier will be coming off an 8-month layoff. Plus, yeah, I think Poirier is closer to his prime. Justin Gaethje's taking more damage. So, yeah, give me Poirier by a third-round KO. Let's get on to the next one. Joaquin Buckley versus Kamaru Usman. Now, I know Kamaru Usman is rumored to fight JDM at 312. I don't know if that fight's confirmed. I don't think it is. But first of all, where's Kamaru Usman? This guy's been ducking and dodging everybody in the welterweight division. He hasn't won a fight since 2021, and Usman's trying to call the shots. No, brother. Usman, you do not call the shots. You haven't won a fight in nearly 4 years. You're on a 3-fight losing streak. It's time for you to fight an up-and-comer like Joaquin Buckley, who's on a 6-fight win streak in the welterweight division. And guys, dare I say it, recency bias? I think Joaquin Buckley KOs Kamaru Usman in 2 rounds. Joaquin Buckley has shown one of the most underrated fight IQs in the welterweight division. This guy is a very smart fighter. He might not look smart, but he fights smart. He might not sound smart, but he fights smart. This dude was following Stephen Thompson's YouTube channel to find out how to beat him because Stephen Thompson gives away all the secrets on YouTube. I thought that was hilarious. And listen, we're talking about a Kamaru Usman. Whenever they fight, he's going to be probably close to 38, if not 38 years old. He has some of the worst knees in the division. Kamaru Usman literally has boxing and wrestling. That's it. We're talking about a guy in Joaquin Buckley with a full arsenal. He's developed his wrestling pretty solid. He's shown an ability to shoot takedowns. Do I think he's going to be able to take down Usman? Probably not, but the threat of potentially taking him down might keep Kamaru Usman guessing. And I just don't see Kamaru Usman, who just took a year off after being 37 years old, taking an entire year off. I don't think we're going to see a prime Kamaru Usman. This guy, like I said, this guy hasn't won a fight since 2021. Buckley's hungry as ever. He's going to be coming to take Kamaru Usman's head off, and I think he's going to KO Kamaru Usman in the second round. And this might be Kamaru Usman's retirement fight. Unless he fights JDM and JDM pieces him up, who knows? But I think Kamaru Usman's time's up. He's had his run. He had one of the most impressive title runs we've ever seen. The second greatest welterweight of all time. But I just don't see Kamaru Usman coming back in prime form. So give me Buckley by a second round KO against Kamaru Usman. That's what I envision happening. Let's get on to the next fight. We got Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway 2. This fight first took place at featherweight way back in the day. I think it was 2016. It was a long time ago. Max Holloway defeated Charles Oliveira due to injury. I think Charles Oliveira had a esophagus injury, and he ended up losing the fight to Max Holloway. But it's 2024, baby, and we're looking at 2 completely different fighters. Max Holloway just got KO'd for the first time in his entire career against Ilia Topuria, And Charles Oliveira just came off a win against Michael Chandler. Not the most thrilling one in the world. Charles Oliveira seemed to fight more patient and calculated instead of being like the absolute marauder he normally is, chin first in the air, looking to KO guys and take one to give one. That was the Charles of old. I think the new Charles is going to fight smarter. Now, who do I think wins? It all depends on what version of Max shows up, man. Max Holloway, how is he going to respond to a KO loss? He's never had to respond to a KO, you know? Because it's the first time he's ever been KO'd. He's 33. He's moving up to lightweight, which I do think is a good option. No more hard featherweight cuts. Max Holloway is going to fit well in that lightweight division. But guys, listen, even if the best version of Max Holloway shows up, I think lightweight Oliveira beats any version of lightweight Max. That's just what I think. Even the version that fought Justin Gaethje. Charles Oliveira is not Justin Gaethje. Max Holloway is not KOing Charles Oliveira. And dare I say it? I think Oliveira would be one of the first guys to submit Holloway. After the last time Holloway's been submitted was what, Dustin Poirier back in 2012? I think we could see Oliveira get a submission. I think you can see him rock Holloway, who might like shoot a sloppy takedown, and then maybe Charles Oliveira locks in a guillotine. Maybe that's a casual take, but I'm taking Charles Oliveira by second round guillotine against Max Holloway. Locks in his title shot for 2025, rematch with Makhachev, but even though that fight probably won't happen, Makhachev isn't interested in rematches. I mean, the guy's been fighting rematches forever. He's rematching Arman Sarukian. Is that his first rematch? Am I talking nonsense? No, he had a Volkanovski rematch. And then he's rematching Sarukian. If he rematches Charles, that'll be the third rematch. I'm sure the guy's tired of rematches. He said he wants to fight a new contender. But give me Charles Oliveira by a second-round guillotine against Max Holloway. Would I be surprised if Max Holloway outvolumes Oliveira and gets him out of there? Probably not, but I think this fight's 70-30 in favor of Charles. And recency bias, maybe, but I think Charles is just still that guy at lightweight. I think he's the second-best lightweight in the world. Or the third best lightweight outside of Islam and Arman. He's the next guy. So, yeah, I'm picking Charles in this fight. Let's get on to the next one. This is actually going to be announced fights that I'm going to cover. The last 4 fights are fights that are actually announced. First one being Sean Strickland versus DDP. Listen, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Sean Strickland is the same exact fighter every single time. He fights the same, jabs and front kicks the entire fight. He's going to do it again against Dricus. Dricus has shown an ability to game plan very well, and I think he's going to fight Sean Strickland different, and I think Dricus might even get him out of there. My official prediction for this fight is going to be 49-46. Dricus du Plessis just fighting a different game plan. I don't know what he's going to do because I'm going to keep it real, guys. Analytical side of things, it's not my strong suit. But I can see Dricus just game planning very well. And he's been there, done that. He fought Sean Strickland. It was a close fight. But this time, I think it's going to be more definitive for Dricus du Plessis. Give me Dricus du Plessis by a 49-46 decision, retaining his belt and moving on from Sean Strickland. Let's get on to the next one. Arman Sarukian versus Islam Makhachev. Who do I think wins? Now, Arman Sarukian and Islam fought back in 2017. It was a decision win for Islam Makhachev. They fought back in 2017 when Arman was making, or 2019, not 2017. 2019, whenever Arman was making his UFC debut. And it was a good back and forth fight. I think Arman was one of the only guys in the UFC, if not the only guy, to take down Islam. Or no, I think Volk might have took him down. But yeah, Arman, one of the only guys to take down Islam. He gave him all he could handle, but Islam showed to be the better fighter. I think he won a 30-27. He won all 3 rounds. And I don't think this fight's going to be much different. I think Islam's just a better version of Arman Sarukian. Better wrestling, better finishing ability, better submissions. Arman hasn't submitted anyone in the UFC. Better power, better kicking, better kickboxing. Maybe Arman has better kicks because of his dexterity, but better boxing. I just think Islam's overall a better fighter all around. I can see Arman Sarukian stealing 1 round, but I think Islam's just going to outstrike Sarukian. It's going to be a stalemate in the grappling. And I think Islam's just going to outstrike Sarukian to a 49-46 decision, retain his belt, hoping that Belal Muhammad loses so he can go up for that second belt against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Let's get on to the last fight on this list in the co-main event of that same card, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili. Now, another casual take by me. Yes, I'm underestimating Merab Dvalishvili. I've went on record to give one of my hottest takes saying that Merab isn't skilled. I don't think Merab's very skilled. I just don't. I think he has mediocre striking. I think he has mediocre takedowns. I mean, Merab, his takedowns are successful. Maybe mediocre takedowns isn't fair. He has sloppy takedowns. I'll say that. Merab has solid wrestling. He does. But his wrestling is based off of his insane cardio. And outside of that, Merab doesn't have much. He has takedowns. And what else? Pressure? He has terrible striking. He has no ability to finish the fight on the ground or the feet. He's shown that 10 decision wins in 10 decisions and 11 UFC wins. Sorry. Stumbling, bumbling over my words. But he has 10 decision wins in 11 UFC fights. The only guy he finished is Marlon Moraes, who got finished by everybody. So that's not even impressive. And listen, he was tagged on the feet by Henry Cejudo. He was tagged on the feet by Marlon Moraes, who almost finished him. And I just think Umar is faster. He's younger. He has really good kicks, which seems to be Merab's kryptonite. Look at the Sean O'Malley fight. Merab showed in the 5th round that he really struggles with teep kicks. He doesn't seem to know how to defend them. I could see Umar using that as a weapon. Umar has great kicks. He has great wrestling. You think Merab's just going to be spamming takedowns and Umar is going to get taken down? Absolutely not. Umar's going to keep Merab on the outside, and he's going to make Merab look like an amateur on the feet. That's what I think. I think this is going to be an Umar masterclass. 49-46, 4 rounds to 1. Maybe Merab sneaks 1 round in there, but I don't think this fight is close. And yeah, I think Umar is going to win a dominant decision. I've been saying this for a while. People overestimate Merab. Look at his fight with Sean O'Malley. It wasn't that impressive of a performance, and I think his fight against Henry Cejudo is a little bit overrated too. I mean, we're talking about an off-the-couch Henry Cejudo who was 37 years old, able to rock Merab. I don't know. I don't rate Merab's performances very high. Sure, he won the belt off of O'Malley, and it is impressive that he got to the belt on a 10-fight win streak, but I think Umar is going to soundly beat him at UFC 311. Call me a hater. Call it what it is, boys. I'm keeping it real. This is 100% what I believe. This is my predictions for potential UFC matchups in 2025, predicting the winners, and I predicted a couple fights that are actually announced. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I an absolute casual or am I spitting facts? Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. Tune into my streams. I stream every single day. I also post daily videos. I appreciate all the recent support on the content, guys. I'm out, and deuces.